For a game of this magnitude, it's always fun to hear how the other side thinks. So today, I have notable Ohio State alum Mark Titus on the show to talk about the big game between Notre Dame and his Ohio State Buckeyes, and we had a lot of fun doing this. That's all coming up in today's edition of Locked On Irish.
You are Locked On Irish, your daily podcast on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up and welcome into Locked On Irish, your daily Notre Dame podcast. Today is Wednesday, September 20th, and thank you for making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Tyler Wojciak. I graduated from Notre Dame in 2018 and have been covering college football as a producer ever since, first for ESPN and now at Fox Sports. And today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle with any purchase. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. Like I said at the top, we got Mark Titus from Barstool Sports back on the show today to talk about the Notre Dame-Ohio State game. We covered it all, from Ryan Day to Marcus Freeman to Kyle McCord to everything that we think is going to happen in this game. And just a little disclaimer, Mark had a little bit of audio issues at the beginning, but we got him fixed pretty quickly into the interview. So it gets a lot better. I had a ton of fun doing this. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get right into it. He's the host of Mostly Sports and the Mark Titus Show for Barstool Sports. Some people are saying he's now the college football expert at Barstool. Mark Titus is back on the show to talk about the huge game between Notre Dame and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And it's good to have you back, man. How are you feeling now that we're just a few days out?
I'm feeling great. I'm a little more confident in this game, Tyler, than I was after week 0, we'll say. After I watched Sam Hartman throw the ball all over the field against Navy at a time when Ohio State's quarterback situation wasn't exactly clear. But no, the Buckeyes are playing better football, and I'm a little more confident than I was. Yeah, we'll put it that way. But I'm not like those other Ohio State fans, Tyler. You won't see me being obnoxious and talking all that smack because I know the realities, and I know that Notre Dame's a very good football team. We'll be playing on the road, so I'm not taking this for granted by any stretch of the imagination. But I feel better about the Buckeyes' chances than I did early in the season, for sure.
I feel like you and I are kind of natural pessimists about our teams too.
Yeah,
and I feel kind of confident right now. So we're in some bizarro world where I don't really understand what's happening, but what's the official word? Are you going to be in South Bend this weekend or not?
Well, yes. I told you I wasn't. I had lied to you. The football gods bless me. The skies parted and a ticket floated down into my hands, and I was not planning on going. I wasn't sure if I had to work, and then I got the okay, and I'm going over to South Bend. I'm excited for it. I've been to campus a million times. I've been to basketball games, Notre Dame. I've never been to a football game, so this will be a first for me. I'll get the first Notre Dame football experience.
Okay, well, one, I'm excited that you're going. Hopefully I get to see you in the tailgate lots. But now I'm a little concerned. Like, how did an Ohio State fan just magically get a ticket to this game on Saturday? Notre Dame's doing this whole effort to prevent that from happening.
Well, I don't know if this is better or worse, but I got it from a Notre Dame group.
That's way worse, dude. That's so much worse. Dude, it's going to be like 60-40 on Saturday now after this conversation.
Again, I don't know if this is better or worse, but the people are still going. They just had like an extra ticket. It wasn't like a deal where like I'm supplanting another Notre Dame fan, I don't think. I think it was like Notre Dame people I know were like, we have an extra ticket and none of our buddies can make it. Do you want it? And I was like, yes, I do. But also, like I am a pessimist with this stuff. So like the part of me that wants to entertain the idea of going to this game with a bunch of Notre Dame people and the guys win, and I just get to tell them to suck it, and then just like bask in their tears. That doesn't even enter my head, to be completely honest, Tyler. The only scenario I have in my head is that I'm just like the lone guy in red in this massive group, and everyone's just pointing at me and laughing. So I feel like I'm walking into a trap a little bit. I feel like this is actually not a great thing for me.
So do you know that there's this giant effort to prevent Ohio State fans from getting in because of what happened? Yeah, so I'll give you some context, and you're just totally ruining it. And I'm having you on a Notre Dame show too. I'm sure the commenters are gonna love this. All right, so in 2017, that was actually my senior year. Georgia came to town, and it was the first game I think they had ever played above the Mason-Dixon line, which we could talk about that another time. The jokes that can be made there, and it was insane how many Georgia fans there were. Now, it's a little bit different, obviously, because Georgia had never played at Notre Dame. Like Ohio State and Notre Dame have played a little bit more recently, and it was more of a novelty then than this game is. But, like, I've seen some pictures. It was really, like, maybe 60-40, 65-35. Yeah.
Really? Well, I genuinely mean this. It's going to sound very snarky and like it's trash talk, but I genuinely mean this. I will feel bad for Notre Dame fans of Ohio State fans. I've been in a lot of Big Ten stadiums where the Buckeyes are playing on the road and the OHIO chant happens. And there's nothing Ohio State fans love more than like we're up by a couple of touchdowns in the fourth quarter. All the home fans start leaving. And we do the OHIO around the stadium. And I promise I'm not trying to talk shit. I genuinely would feel bad if that's what happens because I feel like maybe I'm a bad Ohio State football fan. Maybe I should be, more jacked. But I've gone to like Indiana games where like Ohio State is like 90%. It's like 90% Ohio State fans. I go with my dad and brothers. They're just sad. They're just like we can't even be mad. We're just sad at what's happening. So hopefully. I do want there to be a good Buckeye contingent, but I also want it to be a road game, Like I want to get the Notre Dame experience. So hopefully it's more – my ideal scenario is like 70-30. Is that fair? If it's 70-30? 75-25?
I would prefer like 80-20 max. All right, well, now that we've covered the crowd, the fan part, give me your perspective about the game right now because – I already know how the fan base feels as a majority based on everything I've seen and heard. The Bucknuts are as confident as ever about this one. But how would you describe your confidence level going into the game?
Well, I think a lot of the Ohio State fans are confident because, frankly, we have owned Notre Dame through the years. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. It's been a long time since Notre Dame's beaten Ohio State in football. And Ohio State fans, I think, do think that like I'm a little more realistic about it, which is that like I don't think that the past necessarily when you have a completely different group of players and coaches and everything else, I don't think the uniforms matter as much. So I don't think just because we're going to be wearing our Buckeye helmets and we're playing the Gold Domers, like that means that we're a better football team. But I do understand like Ohio State fans that's kind of their whole slant on this is like we're more focused on the Georgias and Alabamas of the world and now Michigan because Michigan's beat us for 2 years in a row than Notre Dame. I think for me, like this Notre Dame team does scare me because this is like one of the. I'm a certified Notre Dame hater, Tyler, as you know. Notre Dame,
which
football,
is funny
too
because after you came on to talk about the Shrewsbury hire, people were like, "Wow, I wouldn't have expected Titus to be a Notre Dame fan." I'm like, "Well, he's not.
No, he's not. No. I'm a Notre Dame football hater for sure. I love the basketball program, but I'm a football hater, and this is the first time I've watched Notre Dame early in the year, and I was like, I think whatever hype or whatever excitement is coming out of South Bend feels warranted because I think Sam Hartman is just like that good. It's been probably I would say like the Brady Quinn years was like the last time I felt like Notre Dame had even the year like they go to the national championship and all that. Like I would say that this team, as a certified Notre Dame hater, this is like the first team where I was like, oh no, they might actually have like a decent football team. Like there's actually something there brewing. Having said that, I think Ohio State Notre Dame fans, they kind of feel the same way about like the expectations or the standard of the program, which is to say like going into a game like this, I think the reason Ohio State fans are so confident is because it almost has nothing to do with Notre Dame. It just has to do with the Buckeyes ourselves. And I think what we've seen in the first few weeks from Ohio State, the question was basically the quarterback in the first couple of weeks, which is like Kyle McCord is not bad. It's just like at Ohio State, we've had incredible college quarterbacks. We've been on an insane tear of college quarterbacks. And now you get into a situation week one for the Buckeyes where it's like, we don't know who our quarterback is. This is uncharted waters for us. Now, what the flip side of that was every other position on the field was seemingly accounted for. And we're loaded. The defense looks a lot better now. The rest of the offensive line, there's a little bit of questions there, but like the skill positions on offense are it's just all NFL guys. So now that Kyle McCord against Western Kentucky, and granted it was Western Kentucky, but at least it was, he was incredible. I think that's where it's coming from. And I think the excitement or the confidence, I should say, going into Saturday, I don't think it's necessarily disrespect for Notre Dame. I just think that like Ohio State's one of the programs and Notre Dame's one and Michigan's one. And like there are a handful of programs around the country where it's like, if I feel like our team is playing well enough, it almost doesn't matter what the other team has going on because we're going to be confident that our guys are good enough. And I think Notre Dame fans feel that way too, which is why I'm so excited about this game, because it's like any confidence that Ohio State fans, I do feel like it has almost nothing to do with whether they think Notre Dame is good or not. And it has to do with like, we like our guys, you know what I mean? And I think that's what makes this matchup so interesting, is because it's been a long time since both of these teams have been in that position. I mean, you said it at the top. You and I are both pessimists about our football teams, and both of us are like, I think I kind of like this team. I think I like where our team's at. So,
it's hard to blame Ohio State fans for feeling that way, especially at the level that they've recruited during the Ryan Day era, during the Urban Meyer era. Like they've just always had, or at least I would say 90% of the times that they play, they have more talent than the other team. So every time they lose, it's usually an upset or somewhat of a shock. But like considering Michigan is clearly the biggest game on the schedule this year for Ohio State, especially true considering how the last 2 years went. How big is this game from the Ohio State side? Because for us Notre Dame fans, we're looking at this as like arguably the biggest game in decades, but it's not even the biggest game on your schedule this year.
Yeah, I know that's a weird dynamic. I think Marcus Freeman makes it a big game. I definitely, like no sane Buckeye is looking at this and saying this is just another team on the schedule. This is just another game. And really for the conference as a whole, if the Buckeyes can beat Notre Dame, that goes a long way for the playoff race as well, because I mean, you're looking at like a Big Ten scenario where Penn State looks like they might be playoff good. Michigan is obviously playoff good. If Ohio State's playoff, if Ohio State beats Notre Dame, Michigan doesn't really have a tough non-conference schedule, or Michigan's done. Penn State has their tough non-conferences behind them. So if Ohio State can knock off Notre Dame, I think that becomes fascinating too, because it kind of opens the door for a backdoor playoff spot for like whichever team of Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State does not advance to the Big Ten championship. There's still a door open based on like, this would be a big card to play. It'd be like, listen, Ohio State beat Notre Dame. So if Notre Dame runs the table from here, we can always kind of have that trump card. And I think people kind of understand that, but the Marcus Freeman part of it all definitely makes it personal. I don't really know. I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole fan base, because I know he's kind of, Freeman's kind of, I wouldn't say disavowed Ohio State, but he's just kind of like, listen, I'm married to a new school now, and like, this is my school. I've always loved Marcus Freeman. I mean, we were in school at Ohio State together, and I remember vividly watching him play for the Buckeyes, and I freaking loved him. So, there is some small part of me that wants, him and Luke Fickell, who's at Wisconsin now, like I want all these former Buckeyes to kill it wherever they're at. But, I think Freeman knows what he's doing, and I think he's kind of said some things in the past that, like, if you play for Ohio State and you don't talk about Ohio State in the most glowing way ever, people take it the wrong way. And I think Freeman knew that, and he kind of, he said some things in the past that rubbed people the wrong way. But, I think that part of it definitely makes this is definitely a big game. I'd say it's like an A- game on our schedule. We'll put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
It's interesting you bring up Freeman, because I was going to ask you, like, how does the fan base feel about Marcus Freeman? Because he was a great player for Ohio State back in the early 2000s, but he pissed off a lot of people for the comments he made in the Players Tribune article, like right after he took the Notre Dame job, when I think his exact quote was, he wouldn't make the same mistake twice about picking Notre Dame. And then I think some people took that as he made a mistake by picking Ohio State in college, which I could see why people would interpret it that way. But he is still a Buckeye. His dad is still a season ticket holder for Ohio State. So there's clearly some bloodline and like still a tie to this school. It's not as absurd as like last year when the season was starting, and that's the only thing that people would talk about, like the fact that Marcus Freeman was an Ohio State Buckeye. But you still like him, all things considered.
Yeah, I think he said something too about like recruiting in Notre Dame is harder.
Yeah, they got to go to class.
We got to go to class. In Ohio State, they don't. No, I mean, I just get the business, like I get that. I understand what's going on there. Like I never took that the wrong way as a Buckeye. Like I think that if Marcus Freeman goes on to a long career at Notre Dame and then retires in 30 years and won a couple national championships at Notre Dame, and you put some true serum in him and you ask him, how do you feel about the Buckeyes? I'm sure he's going to be like, listen, man, I love my time there. I love Ohio State, but he's just, when you're in that seat, when you're the head coach of Notre Dame and you got Ohio State on your schedule, you can't exactly,
what do people think he's going to say?
Yeah. I kind of understand what's going on there. And if I became if I was Notre Dame's basketball coach, if they hired me instead of Mike Shrewsbury and you asked me how I felt about Ohio State, I would be crapping all over the program. I'd be like, I want guys to come to Notre Dame. I don't want them to go to Ohio State. And there's nothing in the world I love more than Ohio State basketball. So it never really rubbed me the wrong way. I think Freeman's awesome. I think he's a great dude. And that hire for Notre Dame was, that was one of the cool things, was just like seeing the way the players responded. And, it was just like it was one of those deals where like Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame and it sort of feels like you're getting crapped all over because like the guy is leaving
Yeah.
But then in the end, you see like immediately the snap of a finger, you see how beloved Marcus Freeman was by all the players. You're like, oh, okay, well, maybe this was actually a huge win for us. So I as much as I am a Notre Dame football hater, Marcus Freeman makes it very hard for me to continue to hate the Irish.
We'll be right back with Titus to talk more about the Notre Dame-Ohio State game. But first, I want to tell you about Birddogs. I've raved about Birddog shorts before in the podcast, and I'm here to do it again because they are just that good. Not only do they make you look better, they're way more comfortable than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Birddogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. So not only can you wear these shorts to the gym, you could wear them on the golf course, out to lunch, really wherever you want. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege or promo code LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You won't want to take your Birddogs off, we promise you. Well, you know what's going to happen, right?
What's that?
If Notre Dame wins, then you're going to have all these Ohio State fans that are going to say they need to fire Ryan Day and hire Marcus Freeman. But actually, on a serious note, though, like if Ohio State were to lose this game, how much heat do you think Ryan Day would be under? Because I think it's ridiculous that I even have to ask this because he's 48-6 as a head coach. But last year, there was a pretty vocal minority that wanted him out after losing to Michigan in back-to-back seasons. So it's ridiculous, but I do think that if he were to lose this game, especially so early in the season, fair or not, people are going to be talking about it.
Yeah, I was one of those vocal minority. I fired him after we lost to Michigan. I sent 10 different text messages to friends.
Officially
because
out.
Okay, so to be clear, when we lost to Michigan last year, it wasn't that we lost, it was how we lost. It was like at halftime, everyone watching that game, Michigan fans included, knew that Ohio State was the better football team.
They should have been up way more.
Yeah, yes. And then the way the second half just unraveled, and there's like no pride and there's no heart from any of those guys, I lost my mind. I was like, listen, going into the game, if you told me we were going to lose this, I'm a reasonable man. I would say, yeah, Michigan's not a bad football team. These things happen. But for it to happen that way was just disgusting. I rehired him though, Tyler, after the Georgia game. I felt like that was inspiring football we played.
You rehired him after a loss?
Yeah, I rehired him after a loss.
Nice. Okay, cool. This is the Ohio State way. You rehired a coach after a loss?
To seriously answer your question, again, it's no disrespect to Notre Dame, but I don't think this would matter that much for it depends on the context, I guess. But if you're telling me it's like a great football game and Buckeyes lose by we're down 4 or 3 and we're driving late and Notre Dame gets a big 4th down stop and that's the game. I don't think Buckeye fans are gonna like however you feel about Ryan Day going into that game, you're gonna still feel that coming out of the game. You know what I mean? It's not like someone's gonna be like, oh well, I've been defending this guy all along, but now that's a bridge too far for me. Because it is ultimately it's Michigan in the national championship or the playoff. That's it. That's where we're at with Ryan Day. He's proven that he can win big games. He can beat very good teams. But until like that's basically what the standards at Ohio State. Until you're knocking off Michigan consistently and competing for national championships, I think that's the last hurdle for him. So this frankly isn't really a game that he's lost before. So I guess maybe I'm talking myself in circles here because maybe this would be bad. Like maybe Ryan Day finally loses a game like this in the regular season, which he doesn't really do. He doesn't. Yeah.
There was the Oregon game.
That's true. That's
That was
true.
a
The
bad
Oregon
one.
game. That's a good point. I blocked that one out of my mind.
Without Kayvon Thibodeau too. That's sort of what I'm clinging to. I'm sort of like, a little similarity. So that game was at Ohio State.
That's true. There is the Oregon game. That is true. That was COVID though, wasn't it?
No, it was September 2021, so it's like post-COVID. I think we're still kind of in it.
Are you worried? Let me ask you this, because I do wonder. Do you think that like Ryan Day having coached in all of these massive games, do you think that matters? Like, do you feel like maybe there's an element of like Marcus Freeman almost like having Ohio State tie, and like this feels, frankly, and again, I'm not trying to talk crap, but like this is a bigger game for Notre Dame than it is for Ohio State in terms of like culture building for the program and all that sort of thing. Is there a worry that like maybe it's too big of a deal? Like there's like the emotions of it all. Like, does Marcus Freeman know how to handle like knowing that the entire country's locked in on this game and the juices are flowing and all that sort of thing?
I'm not worried about Marcus Freeman because I think he'll have the team ready to go. He cares so much about this game, whether he's going to be open about it publicly or not. But he's actually not my concern. My concern is actually with the assistant coaches going up against Ohio State staff, because it's not just Ryan Day. I mean, Ohio State's entire coaching staff is loaded. They've been in a ton of big games. And Notre Dame, for example, like the offensive coordinator, Jared Parker, this is his first season as the offensive coordinator at really any level. I think he had some interim offensive coordinator jobs before, like he did a little bit at West Virginia, but this is his first full season where he's in total control. And so I'm a little bit more concerned about him going up against Jim Knowles at Ohio State, who's been around forever. So I think I'm more concerned about that than Marcus Freeman, because I have full faith that he's going to have the team ready to go, but it's great to have a plan, but once you get punched in the mouth, how are you going to be able to adjust? And then it's on the assistants to sort of make those calls in the game, and that's what I'm concerned about.
I'm fascinated by Notre Dame's approach to like you want to be aggressive and you want to if you're in the Notre Dame locker room, you're saying we're the better football team and we're going to go prove it. But also there's like, is there going to be a moment in the game where you get a little too aggressive, get a little too cute, and go for a trick play, and it doesn't work, and you're like, why would we do that? We're better. We should have just run the ball down there. That's what I would be worried about. Is like there's the balance act of like we feel like we're the better football team, but also the reality is that like maybe Ohio State has a little more talent in some of these spots, and maybe we do need to not necessarily bust out like a double reverse, but you know what I mean? Like be a little aggressive in spots we wouldn't have otherwise been, because we gotta pounce on this opportunity. I think that's the part of the big game coaching where the emotions get the better of you, and it's 4th and 4 on your own 42-yard line or something, and the whole crowd's like, go for it, and you're like, all right, now can you take a deep breath and like really think through all the options here?
I could see that, especially if Notre Dame goes out to an early lead and like they might be on such an insane high at the time. Like, how would they be able to maintain control? Or if they go down a little bit early, are they able to just stay calm, stay composed and all that? That's going to be interesting. Having Sam Hartman, though, does alleviate some of those nerves, just because he's 35 years old playing college football. And the thing that gives me the most confidence is because last year when Notre Dame went to Ohio State, Tyler Buchner was our starting quarterback who, as evidence lately, he kind of stinks. And it was his first ever start, and it was, in the shoe and all that. So I went into that thinking, man, like, I don't know how Notre Dame's going to have to pull a rabbit out of the hat basically to even have a chance in this one. Whereas like this game, it's so different because I actually think that Notre Dame has the better quarterback, or certainly the more proven quarterback, because Kyle McCord could end up being incredible. He was a top recruit for a reason. He's an Ohio State quarterback, so just with that comes a ton of credibility. But at this point, Sam Hartman has done a lot more at the college level. So I feel like in those situations, in those high-pressure moments, he's not going to be rattled by any of that.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, that's one of the fascinating wrinkles of this is how many times Ohio State and Notre Dame played and Ohio State didn't have the better quarterback, or like it's pretty clear that Notre Dame has the better. Yeah, I know it's been a minute. So I mean, on the college level at least, so that is fascinating as well. And the thing about McCord though for me is like I really coming into the season, I never really thought I don't think he's going to be like a lights out quarterback ever. He might eventually develop into that. But with the talent he has around him, he doesn't have to be. And Ryan Day is a quarterback guy, so like, I think if as long as you don't make mistakes, I mean, Ohio State's a program. We went to a national championship game with Todd Beckman as our quarterback, like we don't, this isn't like
you won one with Craig Krenzel.
We won one with Craig Krenzel. Yeah. So it's not like this is we're freaking out too much. What we need is just, make the simple play. Don't make too many mistakes. What's interesting to me though about this Buckeye team is that our identity in the Ryan Day era has just been flipped on its head. So if you watch Ryan Day football through his Ohio State tenure, we obviously aired out. We obviously put up a ton of points. We're one of the best offenses in the country, if not the best, year in and year out. And the defense is the question mark. And the defense is like the part sure, we can score with the best of them, but what happens if our offense gets stalled a little bit because the defense gives up a touchdown seemingly every single drive? This year so far, and it is early, and we haven't played much of a schedule, but the defense is awesome. The defense, the Silver Bullets are back. Those guys are incredible. They've been playing. I mean, Western Kentucky, I know it's Western Kentucky.
No, they put up points.
They put up points, man. And we held them to 10 points. And even the touchdown they scored, there was a fumble on the drive that fell right into our guys' hands. And we had like two different dudes like scoop it and then drop it and scoot. And, so like even that drive, we were like that close to stalling it and getting the ball back. So that's what's fascinating to me is I think this Buckeye team, the strength might actually be as the season progresses. Now, obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. and Travion Henderson, like all these skill dudes we have are awesome. But what I have been noticing and what's been standing out to me and what's made me really excited about the future of this season is the defense. And with that being said, if Kyle McCord can just simply not make mistakes and just put the ball in the hands of the playmakers and not think of himself as the playmaker, just be good at like, here, you go take the ball, Marvin, and you go run into the end zone, and I'll just stand right here. If he can do that, I think we're going to be just fine. But Hartman's freaking awesome, and I love watching him. Should I, though, question for you, Tyler, everybody keeps telling me that I look like him. I should take this as a compliment, right?
I mean,
he's a handsome man, right? Okay,
good. He's very good looking.
I get tagged every time Notre Dame's playing football games. I get tagged in screenshots of Hartman on the sideline. And I'm like, I think that's a compliment. I don't know. The man looks pretty handsome to me.
Yeah. Are you concerned that the combination of Marcus Freeman and Sam Hartman is actually going to be too handsome to overcome?
Listen,
two
man,
good-looking dudes.
I love Ryan Day, but we got to talk about the beard dye he's using. I don't.
Oh. You think he's using beard dye?
Oh, I think he's using a Sharpie marker, Tyler. I think Coach K is blowing up Ryan Day's phone saying, give me some of that dye. He's like, the stuff I've been using isn't – you got military-grade hair dye, Ryan. Let me get some
maybe the handsomeness of Sam Hartman is actually going to play a factor because Ryan Day is going to be looking over like, damn, that's natural?
How does he do it?
How does he do it?
How does he do that?
So he's not going to be focused. He's not going to be locked in the whole game. They're going to be like, Coach, what's the play? He's like, do you see his beard, dude? Okay, outside of Sam Hartman – and you could look at this from like the Notre Dame side or the Ohio State side. What are you most concerned about in this game?
Oh, Estime for sure. This dude is a freaking bowling ball. He's the picture. I've been worried about Audric Estime since the freaking what's the picture of him like in the sandbox that he was?
Yeah, he was a freshman too. He's bigger, stronger, leaner now.
Dude, this guy is he's just a freaking wrecking ball of a man. And again, like I like our defense, I like our D line, I like it's just at a certain point you watch this man just bowl over people, and you're like, yeah, I could see a world where he just destroys us. I could see a world where Sam Hartman is just picking guys apart with these passes. Just kind of chipping away at our defense, and we start bringing a little more pressure, and then he just hands it off to Estime on draws and shit, and like I don't know. I've played out every single nightmare scenario for the Buckeyes in my head, and all of them are Audric Estime just like bowling over dudes and Hartman picking us apart. But yeah, Estime is incredible.
I've got bad news for you. He hurdles dudes now too. He did it on back-to-back plays in the last game because the DB goes low, obviously, right? He sees a freight train coming at him, so he's like, all right, I have to just take out his ankles. So they're diving out, and he just jumps right over him in stride and can still run. And I'm just thinking, like, First of all, if you're a DB, you're making a business decision there. Like, I'm not going high. I would much rather him jump over me and get a little embarrassed than literally him just run right through my face and my chest caves in. Like, I don't want to do that. So I hear you. Titus and I still have plenty more to get to about the Notre Dame Ohio State game, but I wanted to take this opportunity to remind you about our new show here at the Locked On Podcast Network called College Football Kickoff Live, which airs every Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover everything going on in the sport and go in depth like only Locked On can, including insight and analysis from our stable of college hosts covering their team every day. I'll actually be on the show Friday to talk more about the Ohio State game, so be sure to tune in for that. Again, the show is live on Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. Today's episode is also brought to you by Jase Medical. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase Case. The Jase Case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you are not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jase Medical makes sure you have the medication in hand, and it's simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. Don't get caught unprepared. Save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout on jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code LOCKEDON. You're not at all concerned about McCord, this being his first, I know it's not his first road start, but first big game environment.
No, I think I do like Kyle McCord. I think Kyle McCord's a good quarterback, and I think as long as he just has the attitude, like I said before, if he's not trying to be the playmaker himself and he just kind of understands who the guys, because he is a good quarterback. The guy is starting quarterback at Ohio State for a reason. I always liked him when he would come in and he'd play a lot of garbage time the last few years because we'd be blowing teams out. I always liked him then, and he's ever since Joe Burrow left and became the Joe Burrow everyone knows and loves, I think a lot of Buckeye fans have paid a lot more attention to our backup quarterbacks. we don't want to lose them anymore. Yeah. So as McCord was coming through the playing in garbage time the last couple of years, I've always liked him. I've always liked what I've seen from him. So no, I weirdly, it's going to sound insane, but I do think opening the season on the road against Indiana, as bad as Indiana is, I do think that helps us in a big way. I think you kind of get those first road game jitters out of the way. I'm not super worried about that. There is one little sliver of doubt that maybe there will be a moment where Kyle McCord is it's Kyle McCord time. But from what I've seen from him, throughout his career, he doesn't really have that in him. He doesn't have the part of him that is I'm going to go out and win the Heisman at Notre Dame or anything. So I feel pretty good about it. Now I have the right to change my opinion at halftime. If
I was just going to say, if you fire Day after the Michigan game at halftime, you're like, McCord stinks. He's out. Yeah. He's a bum. And the discourse around him will be interesting after this game.
No, I really do, man. I just our skill guys are so freaking we're 3 deep at running back. We have the best wide receivers in the country, and I think really that's where my trust in Kyle McCord comes from. Is just that I really genuinely think that as long as you're not making mistakes, just about anybody could play quarterback with this Ohio State talent around them. Which isn't to say we're invincible. Our offensive line is kind of new, and there could be some concerns there. And, I'm sure Notre Dame's going to exploit that and get some pressure in McCord's face and stuff. But, when you have all the skill guys around you that are that good, I'd like to think that you're smart enough to know that just put the ball in their hands and trust that good things are going to happen.
Yeah, I do think Notre Dame is going to dial up a lot of pressures, especially early on, to try to get after the line. Having to replace both tackles and the center this offseason, it being McCord's first real hostile environment on the road, I think that's going to play a part. But if you do that, then you leave Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka open, or at least one-on-one coverage. But Notre Dame does have some good corners. We're going to find out just how good they are on Saturday.
They'll get tested.
They're certainly going to get tested because I think outside of Caleb Williams, I think Marvin Harrison is the probably best player in college football. But I wanted to know, what was your indoctrination to Ohio State fandom like? Because you grew up in Indiana, grew up IU basketball fan, but when did you go from oh, this is fun, to your happiness is dictated by what happens on Saturdays with the Buckeyes in the fall?
It was, I remember vividly. It was a game that most people, most college football fans probably remember. It was the number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes versus the number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines in the year 2006, the fall of 2006. Ohio State won 42-39. I was a freshman at Ohio State. When I got to Ohio State, I did not think I was going to play on the basketball team. I thought I was just going to be like a normal student. So I bought football season tickets in the student section because, like you said, I knew nothing about. I shouldn't say nothing. Like Ohio State, obviously, I watched them growing up a little bit, but like I knew nothing about the traditions. I never been to a game with the shoe, all that sort of thing. And I thought, I'm going to go to every single game. I'm going to be a student here. I want to like buy into the culture and like learn everything. So I got student tickets, and then I got put on the basketball team. And it was really weird because like I couldn't even go to most of the games, but I ended up being able to go to because we'd be like practicing and stuff, or like on the road. Like once our season started, like there'd be a lot of times we couldn't even go to those games.
Dad, this sucks, dude. Let me go.
Yeah. I want to go. Our football team's ranked number 1. He's like, Mark, we're ranked number 1. The basketball team's ranked number 1. I'm like, I don't care.
Coach,
like,
I've got beers to drink. Yeah.
Troy Smith's gonna win the Heisman, Coach. So I went to the Ohio State Michigan game. That was probably like my 3rd game of the season that I'd gone to. And I had the worst seats in the house because I was a freshman student, and we just had like a massive student section. They just put me like, my tickets were like all the way up in the corner. And yeah, we won, and it was an insane game. And I've never to this day seen a college football atmosphere like that. I've never seen just like it was really hard to go to bed that night and wake up the next morning and shrug my shoulders and say, I don't really care about Ohio State football. Like once you experience that, everyone rushed on the field. It was really funny because I had the worst seat in the house, and it probably took me 30 minutes to get to the field. It was like the slowest. Like everyone else was like rushing onto the field.
You got to call an Uber. You're like, hey, I got to get you. Uber wasn't even around. So that means you were not at Ohio State when Notre Dame played Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl.
The Fiesta
Brady
Bowl,
Quinn
no.
game. You were not. Okay, so you were not a student then.
The Laura Quinn split jersey. No, I remember watching that game. I remember. I definitely watched that game, but I was still in high school then. So that was the Ohio State Michigan game was my moment. And, I don't know. It does like Notre Dame's the same way, man. There are a lot of schools around the country that way. That's the joy of college sports to me is you can take a Hoosier like me that has, I honestly probably like Michigan football more than Ohio State football when I was growing up. Like I probably, when Michigan and Ohio State were playing, I probably cheered for Michigan more than I did Ohio State. And, to take a guy like me and throw me into that environment, and then I come out 4 years later and I'm like, all right, so kill Michigan, kill them, please.
You're on Message Sports.
Yeah. That's why I love the sport so much. That's why I love it. And so I'm excited to be there Saturday, and hopefully I have more fun than you do.
All right, well, give me some predictions. What do you think is going to happen? Give me a final score.
Oh,
game breakdown.
All right. Let me think this through. I want a shootout. I do. I think it'd be fun. I think a shootout would be fun because I think the way both programs win is if you get an ugly game that's like 21-17, say, which doesn't even have to be that ugly. What was the score last year? 21.
Yeah, it was
about that. It was like 20. It was 21-13.
We were constantly making sure that you guys did not have the ball. And honestly, our defense played surprisingly well, all things considered. Yeah, it's 21-10. But
21-10.
So going into the fourth quarter, Ohio State was up 14-10. So it was a slow game.
That was the kind of game that nobody won. Like Ohio State, we came away from that game. We were like, we suck. And Notre Dame was like, we obviously lost, but also
like in the second half, I'm like, we're winning, but like, we aren't playing well.
So I want to right those wrongs, and I want a barn burner of a game. I do want it to come down to last possession, as much as I am going to regret saying that if it actually does, and I'm clenching my butthole and I'm like, why did I want this? But because I think if that happens, everybody, like, we both win. Like I think if all of America watches that game and is like, damn, those two teams are good.
We will not both win. I am going to be an emotional wreck at the end of the game if that happens.
I say Buckeyes win put me down 38-30. Is 34 a score that could happen?
Yeah.
That's a score that could happen.
4 touchdowns, 2 field goals.
38-34. I want a high scoring game. I want it to be surprisingly high scoring, and it's fun. And then Notre Dame has the ball with a minute left, and all the NBC announcers are like, "This is Sam Hartman's Heisman moment. He's going to march down the field, have the game-winning touchdown." And then we see a lot of this from the Buckeye defenders when they like swat the ball down, and it's 4th down. And we see a lot of this, and we see JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer like chest bumping each other. And the Buckeyes win. That's my prediction. 38-34.
All right. Well, I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring. I think I'm leaning more towards like Notre Dame 31-28, and I die after the game. Like I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the peak happiness. But I do have one question before we let you go here, because I got to get at least one basketball question in, and this is going to be quick. It's a yes or no. We've already established that you're all in on Micah Shrewsbury long term.
I am.
But this year,
long term,
is Notre Dame the least talented team in the Power Five?
I'll say no, because why? Because
but they're close.
They're close. They're very close.
All right.
I'll say no, but it's pretty close. So,
all right, man. This has been a ton of fun. Thanks so much for coming on, and I'll see you Saturday. Enjoy the game, but hopefully, not too much.
All right, man. We'll see you.
That'll do it for this episode of Locked On Irish. Thanks again for making this your first listen of the day. We've got a lot more great stuff planned for this week to get you ready for the Ohio State game. So make sure that you're subscribed on YouTube or wherever you're listening to the podcast, because you are not going to want to miss out. Also, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Irish, on Instagram at Locked On Irish Pod, and my personal Twitter account at Tyler, WOJCIAK. I'll see you guys tomorrow.